you know, when your spouse is on the side of the other people, you know you've done wrong, right? Because your spouse is rooting for you.
I want to say this. I encourage Cheryl to publish that statement. In fact, I asked her to do a statement that was much tougher than that.
Really?
Which, yes, because, and I'm glad she didn't. I'm very glad she didn't. But I actually gave her language that was much, much tougher than that because she needed to distance herself from me. My job as her husband is to protect her. And the arrows and the bullets that were being slung at me were hitting her. She was, getting tremendous blowback from her friends, from her industry, from others. And it was a terrible experience for me. And she, by the way, what she said, she believed. So she wasn't saying something, she does not accept all of the things that, I believe about what's happening with the vaccines and the medical cartel. We don't agree.
Yeah, you don't speak for her.
What?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So I don't need to convert her, and I don't need her to, to be. I don't want her to. She started reading my book. She read all my other books. And she started reading that book, and she got on Fauci, and she had just made her depressed to read that, she has an idealism and just a gentle heart, and to read, about these injuries to children, and to read the government officials that are charged with protecting our health or are compromised and corrupted. It was making her soul wither. And I said to her, you don't have to read that book, and you should stop reading it, because let me just tell you something about Cheryl. She is literally the best human being that I've ever met. And when I met her through Larry David, and Larry brought her, who was my friend, and Larry brought her in 2002 to go skiing at a ski event I did up in Banff in British Columbia. She was married then, and I was married then. And then she came back in 2011, and both of us were separated. And I, got a crush on her on that weekend. So I knew I wanted to date her. And I went, but I also knew that, I went to basically to ask Larry's permission, because Larry has a lot of rules that, are not written down anywhere, but a lot of men understand them. And one of them was, I know that even though it was his TV wife, they knew that it was, I needed to get, square with him before I...
Might have been crossing a boundary. I got it.
Exactly. So I went and met him at the Carlisle Hotel around 11 o'clock at night. I went up to his room and sat down with him. It was like asking her parents to date, although, he's more my age. And I said, what do you think of that? And he said, she is the best person, human being I've ever met. Oh. And he said, she's the only person in this industry that is universally beloved. She doesn't have a single enemy. And she has a level of professionalism. She's never late for an appointment. She always knows her line. She does what she's supposed to do. And she really, Cheryl came from total poverty. She was born in North Florida. Her father lived in a trailer in Frostproof, Florida. Cheryl slept in the same bed with her mother until she left high school. She came out. She paid for her own way through college. She put her way through waitressing and working as a joke teller on a telephone line. And then she came out here in a, Toyota Tercel with 100,000 miles on it, and worked for 15 years as a bartender and as a personal assistant before she finally got a break, which, she was working at the Ground Lanes and doing improv. But she didn't get a break in the industry until she got that job at Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they were looking for somebody who was an unknown actress. And, you know, then her career took off. She directs films, and she has an incredible career that she put together single-handedly. And the idea that my activities would be jeopardizing this thing that this incredible person put together was just... like, I felt like my job is to protect her, and I was doing the opposite of my job. So my heart was breaking, and I was, you know, I would have taken any blow to make sure that she could distance herself from, you know.
Yes.
My grandfather, you know, my parents were all really good friends with leading figures at the time who had been terrible enemies of my grandfather. And my grandfather used to always say, I don't want my enemies to be my children's enemies. They can pick their own fights, but they don't need to fight mine. And I don't want them to. And I feel that way about my family too. You know, I chose this life. I chose this, you know, crusade. And they need to figure out their own way. My children and other members of my family have other things to do. They're all doing valuable stuff. And I'm not insisting that they read my book.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.